Good morning, everybody. Corey used Bloody History. So, today I wanted to go over the alleged visitation of Lee Harvey Oswald at Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio. Some confusion over this. I don't really fully understand it. There's some conflicting information on when Oswald was allegedly there, if he was there. Usually in situations like this, where there's a little bit of smoke, there's usually some fire. Now, the problem becomes fitting that into the greater picture of things, right? Like the incident at Knoxville, where Lee Harvey Oswald signed his name at the Atomic Energy Museum. What was that, late July, 63? No one can really fit that into the scheme of things either, but that trip to the Atomic Energy Museum completely coincides with the trip to Mobile, Alabama, where Oswald spoke about the communism in Russia at the Jesuit school with his cousin Jean Moret. So that all fits, but the problem is that means everybody lied about when Oswald drove to Mobile. Right? That's the problem there. And I have a feeling that this is a very similar situation here with Antioch College. But we got about 30 pages to go through. We should be able to knock it out all today. And so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we have an FBI memo to the Director of FBI from Special Agent in Charge, Cincinnati. Subject Lee Harvey Oswald. Notice the circle between Harvey and Oswald. For the people listening on audio, the video here shows between Harvey and Oswald, there's a circle. Okay, this I've seen for years. It keeps popping up. No one can give me a definitive answer onto what that means. It has to do with a name, and it's one of a couple things. Either it references that there's a name missing, or that there is the subject has an alias. Or what was the third one? Or that this name is referenced in other reports. Those are the possibilities of what this circle means. Those three things. I think it's more closely related to whether or not there's an alias, because on 100% of the FBI files surrounding Jack Valenti, it says Jack Joseph Valenti, and then there's a circle between Joseph and Valenti on 100% of the fucking documents. So it either means there's a name missing. In my opinion, it's either there's a name missing or there's an alias here. So I don't know. If someone can help clue me in on what this circle means without speculation, like from a former FBI guy, I'd appreciate it. Cincinnati Airtel to the Bureau, 31364. Mr. E.B. Henry, adjuster for the General Adjustment Bureau, Inc., 2667 South Dixie Highway, Dayton, Ohio, contacted S.A. Charles Chapman on 31764 and advised that he furnished the information concerning money orders to Mr. Robert J. Thompson, adjuster for Ohio Casualty Company, Dayton, who furnished it to OSI and WPA-FB. He stated that his firm does business with the Stewart Insurance Agency, which is located over the Miami Deposit Bank at Yellow Springs, Ohio. He also does company business with the bank. He stated that he was doing business at the Stewart Agency with Eugene Diehl, D-I-E-H-L, a son-in-law who, with his mother-in-law, Mrs. Russell Stewart, wife of the president of the bank, operates the insurance agency, and that Diehl mentioned news reports, money orders, allegedly received by the subject being Lee Harvey Oswald. This was approximately 3 weeks after the assassination, and Diehl pointed to the floor stating they came from down there, or they could have come from down there, words to that effect. Okay, there's a notation in the column here. It says CI report 32564 for clarification related to, and then that's it. So, Henry advised that because of many social and political ramifications of most activities at Antioch College and village of Yellow Springs, he could not say whether there was any truth to the allegation. He advised that Diehl is having difficulty with his mother-in-law is drinking a great deal, so may have had made the statement in spite against the family. Henry advised that because of the large amount of business his firm does with the Stewart Agency, he requested that deal not be contacted, as he would know that he furnished the information. Henry stated that in his dealings with the bank, he is sure that Vice President James D. Mitchell or Perry M. Stewart would know whether the allegation's true. Mitchell and Stewart will be recontacted. A report will be submitted. All right, next report. Oswald's possible attendance at Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio. Mrs. Donna Blanchard, 4249 Labata Place, Dayton, Ohio, telephone 278-3948, telephonically advised S.A. John W. Lill, Jr. as follows. She's received information from her sister, Mrs. Cecil Hasser, is written in the notes, Mrs. Wilma Hasser, Fairfield Pike, Yellow Springs, Ohio, that teacher at Yellow Springs Junior High School by the name of Jeffrey Robbins mentioned to his class at school that Oswald had been at Antioch College. A student by the name of Eastman reportedly asked Robbins if it were true that Oswald attended Antioch College. Robbins reportedly answered that Oswald had not been a student at Antioch, but had been to Antioch College to give a talk on fair play for Cuba. All right. So if we're talking fair play for Cuba and Oswald, we are talking May 1963 onward, right? Being that Oswald went to the Atomic Energy Museum, and I think it was, God, if I remember the date offhand, July 27th maybe, and then July 28th he was in Mobile, and then, 26th, and then the 27th he was in Mobile, and the 28th he checked out of Mobile and went back to New Orleans. This is before his venture back to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we're talking a limited time frame on when this could have happened. If I had to take a guess, I'd say he was at Antioch College giving a talk at the same time that he was up at the Atomic Energy Museum, which is just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. So we have another. This is the only thing that makes sense, unless you think that Oswald went on multiple trips to Tennessee that we don't know about, right? So let me continue. Mrs. Blanchard stated her sister would have further details and would be in a position to furnish information as to the source of the above information. On December 3rd, 1963, Mrs. Cecil Wilma Hasser was contacted at her residence, 525 Fairfield Pike, Yellow Springs, Ohio, and advised S.A. Bernard D. Maloney that the information related by her sister was misinterpreted and that it had been reported to her that Jeffrey Robbins, a teacher at Yellow Springs Junior High School, had mentioned to the class he'd heard Lee Harvey Oswald had attended Antioch College, Yellow Springs, and heard that Oswald had been to the college to give a talk on fair play for Cuba. Mrs. Hasser said that she had no definite information concerning these statements by Robbins and related that it was her impressions Robbins was a former physical education teacher at Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio. Previous investigation concerned Oswald at Antioch College failed to reflect that he was known at this college or had ever attended there. Recent articles appearing in local newspapers this area made mention Oswald had attended Antioch College. So, like I said, there's some smoke here, which means there's got to be a little bit of fire. The idea that Oswald would have given a talk on Fair Play for Cuba Committee in late July of 1963, at a time when he was signed in at the, or around the same time that he signed in at the Atomic Energy Museum. And I do believe the Atomic Energy Museum, and I do believe that was Harvey Oswald. Remember, Lee Oswald's not in the picture post-59 from what I can tell, unless he's involved in some of the Russia stuff, which I'm going to get to after I write my next book. So probably early next year I'll get to that. Here's another one. Rebureau Airtel to Cincinnati 3664. On 3964, A.J. Folino, counterintelligence agent, OSI, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, made available his source of information concerning bank money orders payable to subject and issued by Miami Deposit Bank, Yellow Springs, Ohio. Source is Mr. Robert J. Thompson, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force Reserve, and employed as a claims adjuster by Ohio Casualty Insurance Company, 3rd National Bank Building, Dayton, Ohio. Thompson, during World War II, had been an officer in the Provost Marshal's office at WPAFB, Ohio. Robert J. Thompson was interviewed on 3964 by S.A. Charles E. Chapman, and John F. McCluskey, and advised that information received by him was from a person who he would not disclose until he contacted the person to determine if he's willing to have his identity revealed. Information received from his source was that money received by Oswald came from or through our bank, or words to that effect. So we're talking about this bank up in Ohio. Interesting. See, they're just investigating rumors that were being spread. Thompson advised the Miami Deposit Bank is operated by the Stewart family and that this is the same building as the bank they operate an insurance company. His sources services are utilized by the Stewart Insurance Agency, and he originally furnished information to Thompson because he did not desire his identity revealed. Thompson advised that he had been acquainted for over 20 years with the reputation of Antioch College in the village of Yellow Springs for its liberal and leftist causes, and that information furnished by him may be only a rumor. He stated that he does not recall his source using words money order or bank draft, and that he might have assumed that money orders were involved and furnished this information to Folino. Thompson advised that he would contact his source, who is not readily available, and determine if he would be willing to have his identity revealed and be interviewed by the FBI. Vice President James D. Mitchell and Perry M. Stewart, Miami Deposit Bank, furnished money orders reviewed on 1/4/64 for the period of 1/3/60 through 1/20/64, and they were unable to furnish any information concerning the allegation. On 3/12/64, Thompson was recontacted and advised he had been unable as yet to contact his source, but would do so as soon as the source was available. If source was contacted by Thompson is willing to have identity revealed, he will be immediately interviewed to determine original source and truth of information. Report will then be submitted. All right. Is this a duplicate? Let me see. Received information. Yeah, we already read this one. This is a duplicate. Information regarding Oswald's possible attendance at Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio. Sergeant Donald Swartz, Intelligence Unit, Columbus, Ohio Police Department, advised on November 29, 1963. He has received the following unverified information from a source he has declined to identify. Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly attended Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio, using his true name for a short period of time in 1957 and was dismissed because he was unable to prove his graduation from high school. Okay, so let me stop right here. This is problematic for a lot of reasons. Okay, so if school's in session, it's not over the summer, right? Can we agree to that? Meaning school gets out in June, the latest. Then you have a summer session, I guess. Somebody could have attended, but nobody starts a school and starts during the summer session. It never happens. So that means that he would have had to have been there if it was a short time, let's say a month. School would have started late August, early September. So we would have been there September to October in 57. This is problematic because this is most certainly not Oswald. Okay, both Oswalds are provably over in the Far East. But the timing here is suspect. The timing here in 57, which could only have been I'm going to say that this is the fall semester. Okay, so it would have been fall semester, late August, early September. And then, so he goes for a short time. He's unable to prove he graduated high school because Oswald didn't graduate high school. And then what happens around October of 57? October of 57, I can tell you exactly what's going on in New Orleans. October 57 is when Palmer McBride said that Lee Harvey Oswald worked with him at Pfister Dental Lab through March of 58. At a time when both Oswalds are provably over in Atsugi. All right. But this is crazy with this Antioch College timing because logically speaking, this would have been fall semester 57. Immediately after he leaves this place, goes to New Orleans and starts to work at Pfister Dental Lab with Palmer McBride, which lasts until early 58, which is confirmed by William Wolfe and the other guy who was in charge of the New Orleans Astronomers Club. So I love it when I find things that seem to not necessarily connect to each other, but that have a chronological possibility, right? Because here we have Oswald allegedly going here when I can tell you it's not Oswald because Oswald's in Japan. But there was a third person who was impersonating Oswald, 100%. And this is the person I believe was working at the Pfister Dental Lab. And I don't want to go off on a tangent on the Pfister Dental Lab right now because I should really do a show on Pfister Dental Lab because, long story short, the person Palmer McBride identified as Marguerite Oswald at the residence next to the Senator Hotel during this 57-58 time period is 100% unquestionably Lillian Moret. The photograph identified by Palmer McBride to John Armstrong of the false Marguerite at the hotel next to the Senator, or at the boarding house next to the Senator, was definitely Lillian Moret. There's only 2 pictures of Lillian Moret, and this is one of them, right? So that means that the person who was working at Pfister, in my opinion, was most likely one of her kids. And the only kid it could have been who fits the birth dates is John Marshall Moret. That's it. John Marshall Moret. So if there was ever a possibility that anybody attended this school and attempted to go there under the name Lee Harvey Oswald, I'm convinced at this point it was John Marshall Moret. But I'll have to talk about that in detail another time. Because we know that the Morets were all involved in the shady shit and the travel to Cuba and the Air Force Base and all kinds of stuff that most people don't talk about. All right, let me continue. Oswald had lived with Michael Payne and wife Ruth Payne, nee Hyde, Irving, Texas. Ruth Hyde's a graduate class of 55 of Antioch College. Her parents were identified as William A. Hyde and Carol E. Hyde. Swartz stated his inquiries at Columbus show William A. D.E., I don't know what that means, William A. D., Actuary, Farm Bureau, now Nationwide Insurance Company, 6 North High Street, Columbus, residence 580 North Park Street, apartment 105. A divorce was granted to William A. D. It must be his last name is D.E. I never heard of that before. It must be some more FBI cover-up. From Carol E. Hyde, Franklin County, Columbus 61. The couple had 3 children not identified. Previous address for William A. Hyde is 4400 Glenmar Avenue, unit, about 1961. Also 1968 Summit Ave, date not known, and 115 Glenmar Ave, all Columbus, Ohio. Ruth Payne, nee Hyde, reportedly had a brother, Carl D. Hyde, date of birth 12/30/37, residing 125 East Davis, Yellow Springs, Ohio. So Ruth Payne's brother lived in Yellow Springs, Ohio, the same place that Antioch College is, and is married to, I can't read that's cut. He previously resided 1198 Selden, Detroit, Michigan. Sergeant Swartz furnished the above information to Robert F. Mahler, FBI. In conjunction with their academic endeavors in this way, a student will normally take 5 years to obtain a degree in a specialized field. His records reflect Hyde was born September 3rd, 1932, New York, of parents Mr. and Mrs. William A. Hyde, 1986 Summit Street, Columbus, Ohio. During her attendance at Antioch, she was employed as follows. Oh, this is interesting. During her attendance at Antioch, she was employed as follows. The Jewish Community Center, Indianapolis, Indiana, January 2nd, 1950 to March 31st, 1950. The Downtown Community School, New York City, October 1951 to January 52, and March 31, 52 to May 29, 52. The Jewish Center in Columbus, Ohio, and City Recreation, Columbus, Ohio, October 31st, 52 to December 19th, 52. Mad River Township Schools, Dayton, Ohio, September 8th, 53 to October 23rd, 53, and January 4th, 54 to March 5th, 54. American Friends Service Committee. If that doesn't have CIA written all over it, I don't know what the fuck does. Summer Study Tour, June 25th, 54 to August 4th, 54. YMHA and YWHA, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and American Friends Service Committee, August 23rd, 54 to May 31st, 55. Mr. Warren said that, according to the school records, Ruth Hyde had married Michael R. Payne and was last known to be residing at 2515 West 5th Street, Irving, Texas, as of October 5th, 1959. He said he was determined that all mail sent to this address from that date has not been returned, and they have received no change of address for her. Huh. Interesting. The November 30th, 1963 issue of the Journal carries a front page story captioned, "Something Pal Ex-Local Woman." This article is based on a long-distance interview made November 29th, 1963 by reporter John D., and it's cut off by the FBI tab, of course, Mrs. Ruth Hyde Payne, Irving, Texas. The article states that Mrs. Payne and Oswald's wife, Mrs. Marina Oswald, were together watching TV in Mrs. Payne's home on November 22nd, 1963, when President Kennedy was assassinated. The article states that Mrs. Payne was contacted by the police following the assassination, that her home was searched, and the fact that she had furnished authorities with facts of her knowledge of the relationship with Lee Oswald. It is stated in this article that Mrs. Payne graduated in 1949 from University High School, Columbus, Ohio, and later attended Antioch College. Mrs. Payne's father, William Hyde, is an official of Nationwide Insurance Company, Columbus, Ohio. S.A. Robert H. Burtke determined on November 30th, 1963, that records of Antioch College would not be available till December 2nd, 1963. Mr. William Warren, Associate Dean of Students, Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio, advised S.A. Bernard D. Maloney on December 2nd, 1963, that review of his records fails to reflect Lee Harvey Oswald had ever attended this college, made application, or known to have inquired at the college for application. Mr. Warren said that his records reflect Ruth Avery Hyde attended Antioch College from October 31st, 49 until June 25th, 55, when she received her Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in education. He explained that Antioch College is a cooperative school in which the students are on the campus for academic purposes for a period of 3 months and then are placed at various employments. Oh, the report cuts. Or does it? Does it? Yeah, what? Wait a minute. Back to duplicate pages. Okay, fuck them. And then we don't get the last page. Oh, fuck off. Just as it was getting good. So, let me just fill it in for you. Antioch College is a fucking spook college. Okay? In the 60s, anything ultra-left or liberal was fucking spooks. Okay? They faked their own, it's controlled opposition. What the fuck this shit is. So, it says here, he explained that Antioch College is a cooperative school in which the students are on campus for academic purposes for a period of 3 months and then are placed at various employments. This sounds like a CIA placement program. All right. The next page was a duplicate. All right, here we go. Lee Harvey Oswald, again with the circle. ISR Cuba is Internal Security Restricted Cuba. That's what that stands for. Mr. E.B. Henry, adjuster for the General Adjustment Bureau, 2667 South Dixie Highway, Dayton, Ohio, contacted Charles Chapman, 31764, advised that he furnished the information concerning money orders to Mr. Robert J. Thompson, adjuster for Ohio Casualty, who in turn furnished it to OSI. Oh, I think we already read this one. Yeah, we already read this one. All right, moving on again. Oswald's possible connection here. Donna Blanchard. See, yeah, we already saw this. John Armstrong has a bad habit of putting like triplicate of his fucking work in his individual files. December 2nd, 63, Mrs. Mildred Kirk, Deputy Clerk, Scotio County, Portsmouth, Ohio, furnished S.A. Wilfred Goodwin. Harry Kyle, an attorney at Xenia, Ohio, is an associate of her son. Kyle represented the barber, name unknown to Mrs. Kirk, who was involved in the racial matter at Yellow Springs, Ohio, when he declined to cut the hair for persons of a Negro race. Harry W. Kyle told Mrs. Kirk's son that when he saw Oswald on television, he thought he recognized Oswald, and after reflecting on the matter, is certain that he recalls Oswald as having been one of the pickets in front of the barber shop operated by his client. Mrs. Kirk also was of the opinion that he told her son that the checks which Oswald was reported to be receiving were either from someone at Antioch College or possibly directly from Cuba. Interesting. Was there a backdoor funding mechanism through Antioch College? I'm willing to say probably. Mrs. Kirk has no first-hand information concerning this matter. On December 3rd, 1963, Mr. Harry W. Kyle, attorney at law, 241 Hill Street, Xenia, Ohio, advised S.A. Bernard D. Maloney that he has represented Louis Gegner, Yellow Springs, Ohio, in fight against attacks of discrimination at Gegner's barbershop, where demonstrations have been staged in protest. He said he was not acquainted with Oswald, but following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy and mention being made of Oswald, he felt he heard the name before with reference to picketing or agitation behind the picketing at Gegner's barbershop, Yellow Springs, Ohio. He said he had no definite information to support this and stated that should he later recall where he heard the name before, he would so advise the FBI at Dayton, Ohio. Okay, so I'm remembering and realizing something as I'm saying this. So what it appears here is that people have talked about like the Oswald Project, right? And that there were multiple Oswalds and it was all connected to the, Wilcott and Atsugi, right? And all that stuff, going back all that far. So I want to throw something else out there. There are a slew of Oswald references while he's in the Soviet Union, when we know that Harvey Oswald's in the Soviet Union. The original Lee Oswald is, I'm convinced, out of the picture at this point in time. He has got a new name, a new identity, and he's out of the picture. Until proven otherwise, that's my somewhat tentative conclusion on the real Lee Oswald. But it's apparent that there were people doing Fair Play for Cuba Committee activities in a number of places that clearly was not Oswald. We got Miami. We have Tampa. Possibly Atlanta. Well, the Atlanta connection, I'm convinced, is Kerry Thornley. Kerry Thornley ends up moving to Atlanta, so I don't want to hear nothing about it. The Atlanta stuff is probably Kerry Thornley. But that doesn't change the fact that it falls within the realm of this. They were using the name Lee Harvey Oswald and associating it with picketing in various places, right? Miami, Tampa, Atlanta, here at this college. Where else? No, then we have the slew of other Oswald duplicate stuff down in New Orleans and Dallas, which is doesn't appear to be connected to this random picketing stuff, right? So, but that appears to be another usage of the name Oswald, and this is probably not connected to our Oswald, and it's probably just used to leave that fingerprint of Oswald being a communist, right? All more part of the communist setup. Did I already read this one? Yeah, I already read this one. Thanks, John Armstrong. Here's another a quadruplicate. And there's another copy of it. All right. Information regarding Oswald's possible attendance at Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio. Sergeant Donald Schwartz, Intelligence Unit, Columbus, Ohio, Police Department, advised on November 29th, 1963. He received the following unverified... Oh, I already read this fucking one. God damn it, Armstrong. How many of these are you going to put in here? So, yeah, we already have the information on Ruth Payne. All right, this looks like a new one. Another one from Lee Harvey Oswald, ISR Cuba. Report S.A. Charles E. Chapman, dated 3/25/64 at Cincinnati, in captioned matter. Your attention is directed to page 3, paragraph 3 of reference report. The second sentence in this paragraph does not make sense to the Bureau. It is not clear who the source is who furnished information to Thompson, nor is it sufficiently explained why source furnished information to Thompson if he did not want his identity revealed. Your attention is also directed to page 6, paragraph 3 of referenced report. The significance of the first sentence in such paragraph is not clear. Bureau does not understand why the many social and political ramifications of most activities at Antioch College and the village of Yellow Springs, Ohio, would have a bearing on whether there's any truth to the allegation involved in this particular inquiry. It appears this sentence could be eliminated from this paragraph. If you deem it pertinent, such statement remain in this report. Should you elaborate on why such statement would have a bearing on the allegation involved? This is the second occasion in this particular inquiry that the Bureau has had to request amended data from your office, inasmuch as the original data submitted by you did not make sense. This is a highly undesirable situation and will cause delay in dissemination of this particular data to the President's Commission. All right, so let me see if I think I need to clarify for a minute. So we're talking about Oswald allegedly being at Antioch College at 2 different times, right? These are what the allegations that have come in say. Also connected to this is the bank, right? So we've gone over multiple witness statements who said that Oswald, one, was attending Antioch College and we've narrowed down to what would have been the fall semester of 1957, but then he had to leave because they couldn't prove his graduation. That makes sense. That fits a pattern of Oswald's life all the way through going to the Marine Corps, right? So we have that. We have the bank saying that money orders to Lee Oswald were passed through the bank from either Antioch College or from, what was the other one? Didn't matter. CIA. Okay, I don't want to fucking hear it. And so we have a lot of different aspects, right? And so we have multiple people who are not connected to each other giving information that Oswald was here at these different times. That tells me there's some truth to it. But like we already covered, Oswald couldn't have been there in 57. Not possible. It's not Oswald. And the timing is oddly corresponds with when Oswald would have left there and would have started at Pfister Dental Lab down in New Orleans. That leads me to indicate it's possibly John Marshall Moret. But John Marshall Moret has his own history, which is weird. But when you're doing this body double operation stuff, it's hard to keep track of who's doing what, because someone else could have been going to school as John Marshall Moret, right? Okay, you should immediately forward appropriate amended pages to the Bureau as outlined above. You should also obtain explanations from personnel responsible for those derelictions and submit your recommendations for appropriate administrative action. Okay, so this is the FBI home office reaching out to the Ohio office at probably Cincinnati, and it's saying, hey, you guys suck at your fucking job. Okay, your report sucks. I can't understand shit, and we want the names of the people responsible for this and your recommendations on how you're going to fucking clean this shit up because these people suck. That's what this paragraph says. When you get when you get the word dereliction stuck into a report criticizing your work, you are in trouble. That is a fact. Bureau note: Cincinnati office received information that the Miami Deposit Bank at Yellow Springs, Ohio, had issued money orders payable to Lee Harvey Oswald. The original source was fourth removed from the initial source, and we now have now run out this allegation. The original source, Mr. Eugene Deal, states he never indicated Miami Deposit Bank involved in issuing money orders to Oswald. He stated rumor probably initiated because various people had mentioned Mrs. Lee Harvey Oswald was being aided by Ruth Payne, a former student at Antioch College and former resident of Yellow Springs, Ohio. This matter has been given sloppy reporting by the Cincinnati office, as this is the second time we've had to go back to Cincinnati office because a portion of its communication did not make sense. Yeah, they're pissed. They're like, you suck. November 30th, 1963, issue of the Columbus Citizen Journal carried a front-page story captioned Mrs. Oswald's pal, ex-local woman. Oh, yeah. We already read this one. Yeah, but we've already covered all this and where she worked at all the Jewish centers, right? Yeah, we already read this one. Anything left here? Oh, here we go. S.A. Thomas B. Estep, 12-2-63. Lee Harvey Oswald, Internal Security R. CI-T1, that's confidential informant, identified as T1, advised Gene Doherty, called Jack Payton in Houston, Texas, 11/24/63, and asked, what do you think about the recent development in Texas? Eugene Alphonsus O'Doherty, 1167 South 8th Street, Columbus, Ohio, advised 11/25/63. He telephoned Jack Payton the evening of 11/24/63 at Houston to discuss his possible employment by Payton. During course of conversation, he asked Payton what he thought of developments in Texas, meaning the assassination of President Kennedy and the apprehension of Oswald. He does not recall Payton's reply, but he believes it was along the lines of, that's the worst thing that could happen to us in Texas. O'Doherty never heard of Subject or Jack Ruby until their names were mentioned following the assassination. Information concerning miscellaneous telephone calls set out. Sergeant Donald Schwartz, Columbus, Ohio PD, advised 11/29. He received unverified information to the effect that Subject attended Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio in 57. Investigation disclosed Subject did not attend this college, but Ruth Avery Payne, nee Hyde, of 5th Street in Texas, did. attend Antioch College from 10/31/49 to 6/25/55. All right. And it looks like that's the end of the document collection. So let's cover everything. I pretty much think we already beat this thing to death. Do we have any true evidence that Oswald was at Antioch College? Nah, not really. We've got a bunch of hearsay, and hearsay can spring from rumor, and rumor can spring from the fucking ether. That's a given. But to me, the thing that strikes me, forget about the whole 1957 stuff. The 1957 stuff, not Oswald. If it's anybody, it's an imposter. And why they're using the name, I don't know. But definitely not Oswald. So we can eliminate that. And then the stuff afterwards, I would say, is probably very credible. The idea that Lee Harvey Oswald was up here in late July, probably, well, it's that week of like the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 4th, 5th. And then he would be in, because there would be travel time, right? So it would have to be from July 21st or 22nd. Travel time up there. Go to speak at Antioch. On the 26th, go to the Atomic Museum. 27th, as you're driving back, go to Mobile. And then you stay in Mobile overnight and check out on the 28th, and you head back to New Orleans. That seems to be a very plausible series of events here. But, however, that causes us to have to rewrite the statements from the Moretz and fucking Ruth Payne and fucking everybody, right? The whole crew has to have their statements rewritten because they're lying. If Oswald went to Antioch, and you have to, this is the thing, this is a big logic problem, like I've said before. You got to follow the logical steps, right? If he went here at all, it had to have been in the late July timing period, because what are the odds of him going to Tennessee and back twice that we don't know about? Slim to none. So he went once. And if that's the case, it had to have corresponded with him signing in at the Atomic Museum, right? That's how I come to this narrow down this time frame of the trip, and everything would have had to have started July 21st or 22nd at the latest. And then he returns July 28th. You see, then my mind automatically goes to, okay, we're hypothesizing Oswald's doing this that week of July 21st to the 28th. He's getting out of New Orleans. Do we have Oswald sightings in New Orleans during that time period? And if so, it's not Oswald. Okay? This is how you build a logical chain of evidence. This is what police do every single day, right? And so that being the case, if Oswald was gone that week from the 21st to the 28th, that entire week becomes suspect of anything else is going on. What weird stuff is going on that week? Is Kerry Thornley back from Whittier? No. Could he be in New Orleans? Of course he could. But we have to look for things that would fall between that time frame, and what other activities happened in that time frame that could correspond to Oswald being out of town, right? That's where this becomes fascinating, and this is how you very slowly piece together the puzzle of Oswald's timeline. And so, even though I'm not planning on getting to Oswald's post return to the Soviet Union stuff for a couple books yet, this will definitely be something that I keep note of, because I am going to have no choice but to assemble an 18-month timeline, give or take, from June 62 till the end of November 63 when Oswald killed. I need to know everything that happened every single day. And that last book, volume 4 of the Oswald series I'm going to do, is going to cover that in detail. It might even be a 4 and a 5. So, but, well, that's all we got for today, guys. And so tune in on today's Monday. Tune in on Wednesday. I'll have another show out on Wednesday. And tomorrow I'll have a new Bloody History World War II on Substack. If you're not signed up on there, man, that's the best place to get all my stuff. The best place to get all my stuff. And it's only $5 a month. So also coming up in the next couple weeks, I'm going to have some signed copies of my new book available. They'll be $60 shipped. The postal shipping has gone up. The stupid envelopes I buy at the post office have gone up. So I got to charge $60 for the book. Yeah, that's about it for me, guys. I will be back on Wednesday. Thanks.